Okay, everyone has been talking about Clark and Lois getting engaged and whether or not it's too soon. So I thought, hey, why not give my 2 cents? So this is how I see it. Clark and Lois were friends in the middle of season 4. Yes, they were friends, admittedly so. Then towards the end of season 5, he tells her that sometimes he thinks that she doesn't know him at all, and sometimes he thinks that she knows him better than anybody. Um, in season 6, you get that he seeks her out to comfort her when she breaks up with Oliver, and you can tell that there's, a bond there, that they're friends, that they care about each other. Okay, so then we get to season 8, where it's obvious that Lois is having feelings for Clark. Except for, they hit this kind of big bump in the road, and then it's kind of, a little off their relationship most of season 8. But towards the end, you can see that although they aren't, there's some issues between them, that Clark is still trying to be there for Lois, and that's what you see when he starts calling her the blur, the red blue blur. That their first conversation, you can just see the look on his face where even though they're not connecting, in real life, in quotes, whatever, that he's still trying to be her friends and encourage her. And the very last episode of season 8, he's got a lot to deal with, a lot is going on, and he doesn't feel like he can open up to her, but he goes and calls her as the Red Blue Blur, and it reassures her that he's going to find Chloe and all that. Well, Jimmy gets murdered because basically Clark and Chloe let this maniac stay on Earth, and they made a lot of terrible decisions. Jimmy dies, Lois disappears, and you kind of get the sense that Clark is, he does. He gives up, just kind of like he has cost one of his best friends his life, or his decisions have, and so he kind of just pulls away from everything. The first episode of season 9, when Lois returns on the railway car, it's literally like you can see on Clark's face, there's no dialogue or anything, but like somebody threw him a lifeline. And in Salvation, Clark tells Lois that she was the one he always needed, and he knew that when he came back. And although a lot of season 9, the stuff that Clark said and did, I just kind of rolled my eyes like, yeah, right, if Lana comes back, then he'll sing a different tune. But she didn't come back. But as I reflect on, Clark kissed Lois, he asked her out, he told her in persuasion that he promised that they would always be together. Escape, he said he would always, that he would wait for her forever. And Clark never backed down from his feelings for Lois. Like, he never backtracked. All he did is,
I waited for you to get ready
every episode of season 9,
I can wait forever.
he was very clear on the fact that he wanted to be with Lois, and he never wavered on that. There was never a moment where he wasn't completely and totally committed to being with her. And what I see the relationship is kind of like if you imagine a puzzle and them being friends, it's like, set up in season 4 with the corners of the puzzle, the easiest parts to find. And then season 5 and 6, where the puzzle pieces are all coming into place. What I feel like in season 9 is that there was one piece of the puzzle that was missing, and that was Clark not telling Lois the truth about him. It was a huge piece, for sure, but it was one piece. It was like the centerpiece of a puzzle that's taking up a whole lot of space, but it's one piece and it's missing. So, in Salvation, Lois finds out the truth about Clark, not because someone set her up to find out or because she tricked him, because he loves her and he didn't want to leave Earth without kissing her one more time. That's pretty much the reason that she knew. And also, for another analogy, I feel like since season 8, Lois has been completely and totally in love with Clark. And committed when that crazy guy asked her and she said yes. I feel like Lois's love for Clark is like a huge tidal wave, and his secret was like a glass barrier keeping it from him. And when he kissed her in Salvation, it was kind of like a crack in the glass. And then in Homecoming, when he said that he loved her, it shattered. And the tidal wave of love came through. And it's true, I thought that when he said he loved her and just the look on her face was just like, yay! Like her life, was complete at that moment. And ever since then, every week she says that she loves him or to tell someone that she loves him. And it's so clear that Clark was holding back because it was like clear that he loved her and that he trusted her. He didn't trust himself to be able to protect her and keep her safe if she knew his secret. So that was why he wasn't telling her. So you get the scene at the end of Harvest where he says that he wants her to know him completely. And it's not just that he's just saying that. He shows it. He gives her the journal, and then in Ambush, when all that stuff goes down with her dad and the interrogation, Clark comes into the house and, seasons ago when he was with Lana, it was like he was constantly in let me make sure Lana's okay mode and not telling her the truth for her own good, in quotes. But he comes in the house, he tells Lois right off the bat exactly what's going on. He tells her the truth. We see in Abandon that he's told her everything about Darrell and his life, and there's like no part of his life that he's keeping from her. So then people say, oh, well, they were broken up 5 weeks ago, or, they've only been dating for a year. But this is Clark Kent. I mean, Clark Kent asked Lana to marry him in like a tipping point moment. In that day, he asked her to marry him and everything was fine. He went back.
Fill in a few blanks.
All things being equal, he didn't ask her to marry him and she broke up with him. Like, he asked her to marry him when they had a completely fractured and fragile relationship. Now you get to the point where Clark is completely open. He's completely honest. He loves Lois.
Lois will be.
She's the most important person in his life. He's the most important person in her life. It's like, why would Clark Kent not ask her to marry him? I mean, he's not the type of person, even though people say, oh, people do this in real life. Clark Kent, if you've been watching the show, isn't the type of guy who's going to live with someone for 2 or 3 years, date someone for extended periods of time, especially when he knows that he loves her. He wants to spend his life with her. What he said at the end of Isis that was the key right there. He said, he had to tell her the truth because it was the only way that they could share a life together. It wasn't so that, please don't leave me. I'll tell you the truth now. There was no desperation. It was more like a realization that he loves this woman. He wants her to be in his life. There's not a day that goes by that he doesn't want to be with her. And so he told her the truth. And at the end of Isis, when he revealed the truth and on into Harvest and Ambush, when he completely has told her everything about his life, then that was the final puzzle piece. It fell into place, and now there's nothing missing. I mean, they don't need to know each other any better. They don't need to live together longer, figure out if somebody snores or whatever it is that people think. Because, Clark wants to ask her to marry him. That's clear. The fact that he hasn't already done it just means that he has more sense, that he has more maturity than he had when he asked Lana to marry him. I mean, that was just like, after all the crap that had gone on between them, to ask her to marry him was ridiculous, when he asked Lana. But now Clark is actually putting some thought into this and taking his time. And the only thing I can think of is when he does finally ask her, my question will be, what took you so long? And the answer will be that the final piece wasn't there. She didn't know him completely. And now that she does, I see absolutely no reason why this character, Clark Kent, would not ask Lois Lane to marry him. So, let me know what you think. Thanks for listening. Bye.
Sooner than you think, Lois.